got a special guest today, and many of you may know him as the 2018 World Champion, and he's also the leader of the Barsbarians. None other than Gregg Barsby. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going? We are sweating it out in Iowa right now, so it's nice to be indoors.
We've been doing some, I would call them casual in the bags using this format, and people have been kind of digging it. So why don't you kick it off, dude? And I know you're there I'm assuming you're doing the Des Moines Challenge. So why don't you walk through your bag, tell us the discs you're using out there, man?
I did pull out a few discs after yesterday's practice round that I won't be using this weekend, namely my road runners, unless it gets windy. I feel like the air shots will land and stick. So for that reason, I'm not really throwing the road runner this week, but it's typically always in my bag. But okay, so let's get into it. I'm using the Seeger bag, great bag, and we'll just kind of start at the sides. There's no real order. Just throw them in there and make sure they land and bounce. That's the idea. This is my first run Scorpius. I've had this in the bag for 7 years. Just if all else fails and I need to pull it out, I can. Last year's Tour Series Rhino, using this for sidearm approaches, maybe even a couple backhand approaches if it gets windy. If it gets really windy, I will putt with this as well and kind of go to a more traditional stance. I've been working my straddle putt more and more the last couple weeks. So I was off the road and just trying to really dial that back in. I feel like it's my strongest putt. And you can see last year at PCS and a couple other events, I did putt with the Rhino. A 2012 Star Boss. This thing is just got the right amount of dome. Seasoned it in really well. You kind of see there's some scuffs on it, but nothing too bad. And this is my main thrower for little hyzer flip long shots. It's a 174, so close to max weight. Now a new disc that I've been messing around with in my bag is this Star Strike. Now this one's got kind of a pop top to it, and it's more overstable than I've ever seen a Shrike be. This is the most overstable Shrike. So it kind of acts like my Scorpius or maybe a Charger. The Charger's not in my bag this week. It doesn't look like it's going to be too utilized just because the Charger skips so well and it's thick grass all out here. So I need that little bit of extra distance. I'll go to this Star Strike for stable stuff. Helios Scorpius. This is probably my go-to overstable driver, forehand or backhand. Just a really consistent flight pattern. Now that I've seasoned it up for a couple of months, I know exactly where it's going. Don't expect to miss the target with this one very often. Great piece. So the Scorpius is the old Destroyer mold. This is 2012, 13, and before that. And I think since the inception of the Destroyer, which was 08 or 09, something like that. 2010. So this is the first iteration of the Destroyer, and since Millennium's the longest standing sister company of Innova, they got this mold. So it's not as aggressive here on the bottom, but it flies just like a really, really nice overstable disc. Doesn't have too much overstability, but enough that you can lean on it and really give it everything you have. Also got another one of these. Where is it? Brand new one. This is a really old one that I pulled out of my stash just recently. This is a 2.1, meaning that this was made right around 2014, one of the earlier runs of Scorpius. And it's a 172, just a couple grams off. That way I can, right fresh out of the box, I can throw it a long way. It's got a nice, stable, dependable finish, just like a Destroyer. Here's another boss. This is my Dark Ace Nathan Clee boss, 171 gram. This is my long overstable or long flick overstable, just max distance. Or if it gets really windy where I kind of get a little sketchy with the blue boss, this is when this guy will come out. I also can get some of my longest flying hyzers with this, just on hyzer release, almost stand it all the way up and then down, just a one angle shot. So been loving this. Oh, look, another one of those. Can never have too many. The Scorpius. This is my secret weapon disc, the Falcon. This one goes the furthest in my bag, I do believe. This is my hyzer flip, long late turn disc. Again, 171 grams, just a little below max weight. Typically, the max weight stuff I like for when it's really windy. My preferred weight is 171, 172. Before I get on to my fairways, I got to give a shout out to the Halo Orc. The Halo Orc is sick. And I don't have it in my bag this week, but I've been throwing it and I've been loving it. Awesome sidearms, kind of like a long Firebird with glide. If anybody out there is looking for something that's got a little bit more distance, maybe a little quicker out of the hand than a Firebird, but the same flight characteristic, definitely don't sleep on the Halo Orc. Those are awesome. Okay, so now we're going to get into the fairways. I think most people will know what to expect from me when it comes to this category. These are the 3 that I'm rocking right now. This is a factory dyed 11-time Eagle, and it's fairly flat, not too much dome on it. This is overstable out of the gate. Not extremely overstable, but flies nice and true. It'll go exactly where I want it and then just fade. This is my more straight Eagle that I'm throwing right now. This is a original CE Eagle. Again, nice and flat. So this is my straighter one. I also take this one for flick shots, little stand-up hyzer flip forehand shots. Wonderful disc. This guy, this is a pretty flight number Star Firebird. It actually flies a lot like the Eagles. And so I can trust in this disc. I know it really, really, really well. My 2019 Tour Series Eagle. 2019, nice and overstable out of the gate, but I've seasoned this in for a few years. Just consistent. I know what I'm going to get out of this disc every time. I think that's the best thing about this mold and this run is you're going to get the same thing almost every time. Grab yourself a Tour Series Eagle, and this year's is going to be sick. I've got 2 discs that are at my 9-speed stable disc. This is a first run Champion Thunderbird. It's the one I won the World Championship with 5 years ago, and took it out of the bag for a little while, and it's back in because it's just so good. And then I have the 1.6 run OLF. This is when I'm a little nervous to throw that. Maybe it's over water or something. These don't come around all the time. So I keep this one near and dear to my heart. Now the 1.6 OLF, it does pretty much the same thing. I think the biggest difference in the feel is that this is just a little bit easier to grab. I think maybe it's just a slightly smaller profile here. So it's easy to grab, easy to throw. And again, this is a Millennium OLF. Very, very slept on disc. Throwing a bunch of awesome shots. This is my 430 foot and in straight disc, right? Hit a gap, slight fade, slight finish. My mid-range slots. I have 2 what I consider true mid-ranges that I throw. I throw the Shark 3, first run Shark 3, Champion Edition. This one's nice and seasoned. I got a couple backups. I haven't busted into them because this one just keeps doing it. And then this guy right here, the Star J. Absolutely love this disc. Super, super straight. Maybe just a stable finish, not really overstable, just stable. Kind of just slowly fades on the line. I've found success with this disc so far, and it's been a while since I've really had a mid-range that I can put that full trust in with torque, and this one holds up to the job. I've really been liking it. Get yourself a Star J. These are awesome. Definitely underrated disc. Star Croc. This is kind of like a gator, maybe just a little bit more aggressive right here. And this one's nice and flat. I use this for windy approach shots, maybe where I would use a putter when, it's just too windy and I want to just flick it right up to the pin, where the putter might get a little susceptible in the wind. The Croc will fight the wind really well. I do throw this backhand, but sparingly. Most of the time it's forehand. And then I'm using my prototype Toro for shots that maybe require a little less distance than the Croc. Hang it out to the left and break right on the forehand line, whereas my Rhino will go dead straight. This wants to go out and then do a nice little fade. Extremely consistent. Obviously, everybody's been seeing Calvin do amazing work with this disc, and yeah, it's money. The throwing putters. My Nate Sexton Firefly. Love this disc. I had this one in my bag for almost 3 years now, and it's starting to turn up and go right, so I can start this on hyzer release and it'll just draw to straight and then maybe turn a little. Yeah, this is everything inside 175 if it's calm conditions. My other shorter thrower, I guess you would say my chip shot disc. This is a Pro Big Beat AVR. I don't think it's a KC. I think it's a Pro plastic, but it's really close. It's kind of got just like that chalky feel. which I love. So I can really dig into it and then get nice touch on those 80, 90, 110 foot shots and give them a run at the basket. I'm in love with this disc. And I don't know where to find them. If anybody has some of these, please let me know. I'm sure I could talk to Innova, but man, they might have to dig through some boxes back there. I genuinely don't know when this run was made. It's got 2 rings, and the penmanship says KC on it, but it has a pro stamp. So I really don't know. I think this is kind of a unicorn. If anybody has any info, leave a comment down below, because I'd be interested to see if I can get a stack of these, because they're so good.
Your request will be submitted to the factory.
Good. Yeah, have somebody dig in there for me.
All right.
That'd be so awesome. These are 2 of my most trusted discs, without a doubt. You know, if I'm throwing clean, I know exactly where these ones are going. I think everybody out there needs a disc that's slow, like mid-pace to slow pace, that they can control on a dime. I think it's such a forgotten part of the game, and how important it is to be able to get your approach shots close, because it takes a lot of the stress off the putter. Once you work your way into a tournament, 54 holes in, you know, if you can put it to 15 feet 10 more times, at the end of the tournament, it really pays off. So your scores will thank you. I'm going to get some heat for this one. This is my Clemson KC AVR. And the reason I got Clemson was just to spite Matty O. And because he's such a huge Alabama fan, you know, I'm standing right next to the Georgia guys, and I know they don't like this either. This is a Clemson disc. So, but I reached out to the club, and I wanted to support the collegiate disc golf club there at Clemson. So I grabbed a few of these. My main putter. This is a KC AVR 2012 with all these team members, the star team from 2012. Yeah, I look at some of the names on here. I think about how long I've been playing on tour, and how few are left. How few are left on tour. Nice run of putter. This was actually the same or very similar run to what I won the Worlds with in 18. You know, I've gotten some flack for having those F2s. People say, you put an F2s. Said it's the same. You know, there was just maybe a little dot in the plastic. You know, it's the same disc. I can't recommend enough. Somebody out there wants a great disc at a really good price, go get some of those F2s that they have on a factory store. They're just as good. They fly basically identical to stock runs. Maybe there's just a little fleck of plastic that's off color or something like that. But the discs still fly great. The characteristics are still all the same. So yeah, this one's very similar to that. I've had this one seasoning in for about a month and a half now. It's starting to come alive. That is what I've got in the bag.
Putting is one thing that you can't win without having a good putt. And
yes,
how ironic that you had that putter when you won the World Championship in 2018. Why don't you give, for the viewers out there, what is a good mindset tip for putting and making it succeed when you're out there wanting to score?
I try not to think so much like I need to make the putts. Ideally, I just want to have a good swing and make a good read on the putt, whether that be it's windy, or maybe I'm 55 feet away, or maybe I'm 60 feet, or I'm 40 feet. Kind of just getting a judge and moving your way back to seeing when you need to put a little bit more oomph on the putt, or, you know, when you can just focus on being smooth. Like at 25 feet, I always think to myself, you know, let's work out all the kinks, right? If I can just have that smooth stroke. And I just focus on kind of what's inside the body and not as much the result. Just kind of getting back into that process of, we're just going to take another putt. You can putt till you're blue in the face at the house, but then when you get in the tournament, it's a different kind of feel. You know, you want to make it really kind of beating yourself to that point where you're like, yeah, we're just going to make another putt. This is just another shot. Doesn't matter if it's the biggest one or if it's the first one of the tournament, you know, just trying to get to where it feels clean. You know, there's so many different ways to putt. My biggest thing is just making it feel good. And if you can make it consistent, you're in business, you know?
That's awesome. That's a good tip, man. I like it. Focusing less on the result, more on the body. All right, brother. Let's move on to maybe the biggest topic of the conversation here, bro. I was there with you in 2018 at Smuggler's Notch, and was there to watch you tap in to win your first World Championship. 5 years later, man, here we are going back to Smugs, dude. Like, how does that give you the feels? What are you thinking about returning to Worlds in Smugs?
fair bit of pressure, I suppose. First time I ever went to the Green Mountain Championship, I felt like I could have a chance to win there if I put my game together. And it just happened to be on the World Championship week where I put most of it together. I didn't play a perfect game, but it was good enough to claim a World Championship, So, belief is the number one. I think that's the big hurdle for a lot of players to get over when it comes to winning the big one. It definitely was for me for a while, because I got 3 seconds in majors before I won the big one. So, it took a little while, and not to say that I wasn't ready when I got second. It just didn't happen, and you got to take advantage of those, the opportunities when they come. I've seen a lot of guys let them slip out of their hands and never get another chance. So, feeling grateful and blessed to have another chance this year. I know my game's going to be solid by that point. I'm back on the road. I'm going to be on the road all the way through the Worlds, maybe sans a couple weekends. So I think I'll be warmed up and I'll be ready. I know I've got a good shot this year to win another Worlds. There's a lot of good players out there, and they're going to go out there and do what they got to try to do. And I'm definitely going to do what I got to try to do. The only difference is I've won one there before, and I know how it feels. So yeah.
Looking at a higher level, man, since your World's victory 5 years ago, how do you think that has changed your path in the game?
Yeah, I think I've sold some more Frisbees. We've been selling a lot of Roadrunners. We love those. No, I think that my trajectory was already pretty high, but then winning Worlds kind of set it over the top, where it was like, I don't really have to prove it to anybody anymore. I mean, anybody that can beat Paul Macbeth at the World Championship, especially with the run that he's been on the last 10 years, and Ricky, those guys are indomitable figures that are almost robotic, with how well they played in those years. So I think it was clarification for me that I put my energy in the right place for so long, that disc golf was viable for me to keep going and keep pressing through all the injuries and the years on tour that were maybe not so good. Maybe 20 people that can say that they won a World Championship. And I've taken a few steps on the opposite side off the course. I bought a house. I bought 12 acres. We're going to be working on my own little facility that I can go play. It just kind of opened me up to more opportunities, getting more phone calls to be able to do promotional stuff and being a representative for the sport, I guess, a little bit more. With that comes a little bit more responsibility and time management, I think, is another really big one.
Looking ahead to the years ahead, what does your disc golf life look like?
I'd really like to get involved with like Woodward camps or somebody that's doing camps, right? To really bring curriculum to younger kids and start to build the sport like that. My own training facility where I can bring some of those young guys and be able to have a greater influence on helping people shape their game. Right now, I just want to keep on touring. I think I've got a couple 2-3 years left of solid touring, and obviously Philo and I, we're doing the high energy tour again this year. We're kind of slowly bringing that off, bringing tutelage back, and doing clinics, and maybe get over to Europe for a more extended period of clinics like we did in 2017, 2018, and go to all the little villages in Finland and go through Norway again, go through Sweden again, go down to Estonia and Latvia again. You're seeing just a huge explosion of players over there. You're seeing the game's just massively growing. It's actually incredible. Their junior clubs are like 40 kids deep. Innova was at our clinics in 2017. I have a picture. He's like this. He's such a good kid too, man. A lot of these Finns are coming out, and he's just got a real bright spirit. It's nice to see them being able to take that step. I know that it's been a tough road for pros out of Europe up until maybe recently to find a way over here with their visa issues. And, Simon really did it under the wing of Avery and UC, right? Kind of got put on the bus and they just threw him on a bus. Now these guys they're going out, they're doing it themselves with, Turo and Airbnb and they're handling biz. So I'd like to be part of the growth over there too. And
you mentioned creating excitement and shocking people with something like 100-foot throw in. I'm just curious specifically, dude, like what kind of disc are you turning to throw in from 100 feet?
It's either that Pro AVR or that Firefly, something with that nice tacky grip. I would say that the new Fireflies felt really good, They're a little bit more overstable than I'd like for my throw-ins out of the box. But, go and throw it for 3-4 months, I start feeling like you fall into a groove with the disc. I'm sure we all can relate with just kind of falling into groove with a specific disc. All of a sudden it just starts working. At that point, you just try to stay out of the way. You just grab it and you don't think and you just do it.
Dude, that was my next question. You're 100 feet out and you're committing to throwing this thing. What's going through your mind before you cut that disc loose?
Speed control and nose angle. Having the nose up can slow the disc down, and then just having enough power on it to where it'll fly. And you got to spin them. It depends on the angle. I mean, if it's wide open, you can play it however you want. You play the hyzer or like the turnover draw in. A lot of times that comes on a wind read or something. But then at a certain point, I just try to line it up and knock it down. Like, just don't think too much. I feel like sometimes that can be the enemy. There was a couple kids in Europe, funny enough, they were asking, do you train that shot? I'm like, yeah, I train that one more than any other shot. I sit at 120 feet because it doesn't, I don't have to wrench my body as much either. As I get older, I mean, I've been playing pro for 21 years, so it's just not as easy to wrench all the shots. I don't hop out of the car after 8-hour drives and just bang out drives anymore. I need to stretch. I gotta lube up the machine. But I can practice those 120, 110, 100 footers all day. Then when it comes to pressure situations, the work is done. Now all you got to do is just put it in action.
That's awesome. All right, man. I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. Is there anything that you wanted to just share with your fans, things that have been top of mind for you, or just something that's kind of, I don't know, grinding at you?
Oh, man, a lot of stuff been grinding at me. That's for sure. Some of the courses that the Pro Tour has been playing, I haven't been ultra fond of. I'm never throwing shade at the people that work for the Pro Tour or the Pro Tour in general, especially not the people that set up all the courses and do all the hard work. I just want to have standards be set to where everybody has to abide by them. And we know how money in politics goes. So I think sometimes that kind of gets, washed away when there's some dollars that can kind of wash away some of the issues for certain people. But I put a lot of time and effort and energy into playing. So I don't necessarily like seeing courses that pop up out of nowhere that don't really have much identity or soul. They're being considered the best of the best for the best players to play on. I don't subscribe to that, and I won't subscribe to that. So I really want to see more disc golf specific courses that can test a full player's game, not just a power hyzer. I think it's getting a little too one-dimensional. I don't think throwing power hyzers determines who the best players are. I think that you should have a well-rounded set of skills. I think everybody should work towards that. As far as that, it's all the Empire, all the Barsbyrians. Thank you guys so much always. Supporting the drops. I'll do the custom runs from Innova, and I got another one coming here with the J here pretty soon. We're going to do another custom from Innova through Barsby line. So, yeah, thanks to everybody that always followed along. I know that there's a lot of new players that don't really know me, and I can be a little pokey sometimes. So, and of course, thank Innova for their amazing products.
You triggered a thought, man. A lot of people have come into the game in the last couple of years in the COVID boom. And to your point, maybe a lot of these people don't know your background. And this is kind of a two-part question, I guess, but what does Team Innova even mean to you? And how do you describe it to somebody who has only just met you in the last year or two?
Oh, I mean, Innova's number one. They set the bar. Anybody who's anybody strives to be on Team Innova when they first start, because Innova's the brand that's created all the discs that we love, whether it be the actual Innova disc or a disc that's maybe a clone of the Innova discs. That's a big one. I mean, representing the company that's really set the standard and been able to uphold it for 40 years. It's a big honor and responsibility that comes with that. And we got a lot of players out on tour, and the girls that are on the road right now, full of life, the vibrance that they've put off. And then obviously you've got Germ and Nate who are in the booth and playing still. So I mean, they're pulling double duty. I think that everybody on Team Innova as a unit, we still carry the weight. When it comes to the big guns, I think we still got them. I mean, there's a lot of good players out there. A couple of them right behind me. Hope they're listening to this. But we're talking decades of experience in. So Team Innova it's an enterprise.
It's awesome, dude. Well, dude, like I said, you've covered a ton, Greg. Best of luck. We're going to be watching you and rooting for you. So
Thank you.
And do your thing.
Thanks so much.
Thanks too, man.
Yep. See you guys.
Later, bud.
Later.